Hi, welcome back to the Sticious Podcast. I'm your host, Tash.
And I'm your co-host, Connor.
Welcome. Today we've got an exciting new episode for you. It's a bit different. It's a bit of a story time.
Yes, so we haven't got any research because we experienced this firsthand.
In real life, everybody.
We actually go out and we do things outside of houses.
Wow.
Look at us.
Crazy. Oh my God. So this is something that we've been talking about doing for a while. We were first supposed to go to a medium night, but unfortunately that got cancelled.
Yeah.
So we found a spiritualist church.
It was actually at the same place, but it was just, apparently they do like a Sunday service and they do, it's like a church.
Yeah.
So we did singing at the beginning, and then the spiritualist man, the medium, the clairvoyant guy does his business. He like singles people's out. He's like, you, him, you.
What were your expectations going in?
I don't know, because I've watched The Mentalist a lot. I think I mentioned it on the Clairvoyant episode. So for those of you who don't know, The Mentalist, he's basically someone who pretends to be a clairvoyant, a medium. And then when something happens to his family, he basically admits, oh, I was a fraud the entire time. I used the power of mentalism, which is like viewing people's micro expressions and body language and stuff like this to kind of get the answers that he wants and lead them to the answers. So basically, when I went in there, I was just trying to give nothing away. But the fact that the entire room was filled by people who were 60 plus, everyone was old. It was old and mostly just women, old women.
Yeah. I think there were probably about 5 men, including like yourself.
And my dad.
Yeah.
It just kind of threw me off. I kind of got nervous because suddenly it was like all eyes were on us.
I know what you mean. I think also the fact that we were probably, because they asked the question, it was a church. They asked the question of who's joining us, who's new.
Yeah,
and it was only one other new person.
I didn't want to say I was new because I didn't want to.
Same. I was like, no, I'm not a noob. I've been here for years. I've been coming here, even though it's blatantly obvious that we are definitely new because we were just like, what is even going on? But I didn't. Yeah, going in, I think I don't really know what I expected because when you hear the word church, so many things can come running into your mind. Like, I don't know. I think. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect because obviously I went to church a lot.
I've never been to church.
Wait, was that your first church experience?
That was my first church experience.
Oh, okay.
It was weird. Like I knew people like sung hymns and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a religious school.
You went to a religious school, but you never went to church?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was used to like everyone singing in unison.
Yeah.
But it just feels so weird because we were sitting at the very front.
Those were the only seats left, was literally front row, and we were like, oh no, why? Made us stand out even more.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't want to be picked, but I did want to be picked at the same time. You sit in the front row, you get picked on. Yep. Comedians, mentalists, it's all the same.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, oh no, I don't want to be singled out.
No, not me. Yeah, I kind of got what you mean. I don't know. I just wanted to blend in with the background, to be honest.
Same. I just wanted to be an observer.
Yeah. But, well, we'll find out what happened, I guess. I was not aware that was your first church experience. The songs that were sang,
they were weird songs. Basically, they wanted us all to sing in unison to like build up the energy in the church. I say church. It was a cafe. It was a literal bakery cafe.
Yeah, but the word church doesn't necessarily describe a building, so.
Yeah, but you have certain expectations when you say church.
Yeah.
The first thing you picture is not a cafe with cakes and stuff.
We did not get given cakes, by the way, also.
Weirdly, we got given fans.
I liked the fans because I was like, oh yeah. At first I thought we had to pay because they were handing out like the fans, not like the electric ones, the hand ones. And I was like thinking, oh my God, are we going to have to pay? Because it was hot.
And just like regular church, we did have to pay. Not to go in, there was a raffle we paid for. And then, the donation basket came around at one point.
Of course, the donation basket. Classic. It is a church after all. But yeah, the singing experience, I think it could be nice. But I think what threw me off is that usually in a regular church, right, you either have a hymn book where you've got the words to it and you sing to it, or everyone just kind of knows the words. And if you don't know, you just kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
But this one was on a TV screen, the lyrics underneath, and AI generated videos of just the most bizarre things going on.
I wonder if it was stuff that they had created, because like they could have just found a lyric video which wouldn't have had this, but it feels very specific to have the AI video.
Too specific. And it was just playing. And at one point I had to stop myself from laughing because it came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. It's just like, we're going to stand up and we're going to sing and we're going to bring the energy up. And I'm like, okay, this is church, you know, you sing in church a lot. So I was like, okay, cool. And he gets the remote and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, get the lyrics up. That's, you know, we're moving forward. Technology is progressing, and not hymn books. You know, lyrics up on the screen. There's not many people, like, it was filled, but like, it wasn't like a massive church. I would say there were maybe like 40 people in there.
Yeah, but it was a good amount. It filled the entire space that was there was filled with
but
people.
It wasn't like a massive room.
Yeah.
It like you said, it was a cafe. Like imagine like a regular
it's
cafe.
It's a medium-sized cafe.
Yeah, filled with people. So I was like, everyone can see the lyrics. Cool, great. He plays it and I'm like, okay, cool. It's just like somewhat religious songs, you know.
But the
just
songs
with, like,
weren't given. Like,
but
I was not bringing up my energy because it wasn't like popular songs. I mean, at one point they were talking about putting on Elvis, and I was like, what?
They were talking about putting on Elvis, and I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? But you know, each to their own. They said energy. They didn't specify what type of energy. We said a prayer, obviously, to begin it.
Oh yes.
And then we went into the songs, and yeah, the images started playing, and I just chuckled to myself a little bit because I was like, what is going on here? Why do we have this AI imagery going on of like a little baby morphing into a tiger? What does this have to do with anything?
I loved it. I loved like those weird little AI videos. Like, I don't think they're good.
They're terrible.
They're just so funny. Like, it was a rainbow, then it turned into a flower, then it turned into a person with like multicolored hair.
Oh my God, yes. And then it was like a butterfly that was like a rainbow. And I was like, and the way they morph is always so funny. It's always like one little hair strand suddenly grows into like a giraffe or something. And you're like, what is happening here?
It feels like you're on LSD or something. It's insane.
Yes. And then, so we did the singing. And then it was like, cool. And then the guy, not the medium guy, the medium's name was Ian, by the way. I don't remember what the other guy's name is.
But the other guy gave a sermon as if like, you know, he was the priest of in, like, you know, to warm up the crowd. It was so bizarre. It was to do with greed.
Wait, before he even did that, my favorite thing was, I had something written down, but I'm just going to go off script for a little bit here. And I'm like, oh my God. Did you remember saying that?
I vaguely remember that,
I was like, whoa, what's going on? This is so dramatic.
He felt the Lord's light upon him.
And he said, I'm a freestyle.
But basically, he was talking about greed. Yeah. And then he like goes into this whole spiel about how he watched a YouTube video. He can send you the YouTube link. Yeah. He can send it you if you want it. He can send you the YouTube link.
He was like, I don't watch TV that often. YouTube is my TV. Sponsored? I don't know, man.
Sponsored by YouTube.
It wasn't even, he was like, you can get all sorts of things on YouTube now. And I was like, okay, cool. But then to be fair, again, like you said, the audience was mostly 60 plus. So maybe they were like, you're right on, man, putting us onto something new here.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Plugging us in.
It was about how Robbie Williams stole the like song progression and lyrics for the song Angels, never gave the dude he worked with any of the money, and then just like took the millions for himself. Oh wait, no, he did get money because he sued Robbie Williams and got like
7,000
or 7,000. Yeah.
But then apparently the song made 10 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Millions. And he's like, can you believe it? Can you believe the greed of this person? But then the guy who only got 7,000, apparently it was the exact amount that he needed for
change his for rehabilitation because he'd gotten into drugs and stuff like this, and it helped him change his life. I don't know, it was a very weird way to start it.
It literally. And then he was like, and now that you know that, we're gonna do the donation basket. And I was like, what the hell? He seemed nice. He was just a bit all over the place. Yeah. I think it was a bit like, you don't need to say anything right now. Maybe he usually does, or I don't know. I feel like just stick to the script that you wrote, you know? You don't always have to go off script. It's very unnecessary at times. Usually in a church, you read a verse of the Quran or the Bible or whatever, you know, and then you like talk about it. You're like, oh, you know.
I've never been to one, but in my head, you're supposed to start with like the greed story. But it's like a tale of like morals and stuff like this, of redemption or something.
This is the thing.
It felt good, but it wasn't like, it didn't hit the same.
It just felt like he watched it and he needed to rant about it, to be honest. Like, yeah, you'd read it and then it would be like, oh, this verse is about this, you know, it's about, let's say, greed. Then you would go into the story about greed, you know. They usually would be like, this reminds me of something I, you know, watch, or like my friend or whatever. But this felt, it felt very like loosely put together. And I don't know if that's how he usually is, but it wasn't for me. That part was not for me.
Felt disjointed from the mediumship. I thought he was going to like explain a bit of what the dude had done, you know, hype him up a little bit, maybe do something else to get like the energies going or something. But
no. And then it was like, after that, I think we sang one more song to get the energies up. You know, we got to get those energies up. And then it was like, okay, Ian, the medium, do your thing. And Ian gets up.
Yeah. What did you think of the guy?
What, Ian?
Yeah. Looking at him, he did not give me mediumship.
No, he just looked like a regular guy in his 40s, maybe 50s.
Like, I don't know what they're supposed to look like, but I don't know.
I don't know this
I always expected them to have an energy about them.
Yeah, like a vibe, like a ooh. But no, he gave me no vibe.
He could be walking down the street. I would not recognize that man.
He seemed like a regular guy. And then he stood up and he was like, he did this thing where he would look up to the sky a lot. Like he would be like...
He'd look off to the distance because he said he was a natural medium and he saw figures and like spirits behind people. He could see the spirit ships. It was more visual to him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he could sometimes feel stuff as well, like physically. But he sort of spoke about how he's quite an anxious person. So that was sort of something that we had to kind of bear with. He would kind of speak to people that things were calling to him. That's how he started off. And he would be like the first person he picked out was someone he knew whose name it was. I don't know how, maybe like, I don't know. But
there's people that go regularly, so he's done it a few times. So
he knew that person's name. And that was the first person that he did it. And his kind of like thing that he would do is, he would like look off into the distance and like look up, like he rarely made like eye contact with people. It was very much so of like looking down, looking sideways, looking there, looking there, looking there.
I didn't buy it though.
No?
There'd be times where he'd be like, I feel a beer in my hand. And then he would put his hand up. But it wasn't ever a point where a beer could have been put in his hand before that.
See, but he didn't say I feel. He said I can see. He said, I can see someone putting a beer in my hand.
Okay, that's fair.
Is that something?
Fair.
And then she was like, I lived like in a pub or above a pub or something. But with some stuff, like the back pain thing, he would kind of be like, oh, you know, I can...
There was some things I did believe, but then there was other things that felt... I mean, obviously he has to put on a show.
Yeah.
But I could feel the pedantry of it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like at times when he would say things to people and then they'd be like, oh, that's so true. Or like, yes, this is quite accurate. And his response would be, I know.
Yeah. Because he went from being an anxious guy and then suddenly he was like the bee's knees, man.
My God.
He was feeling the shit.
Hell yeah. He was feeling himself. He'd be like, of course I'm right. Yeah, because of course it's correct.
This is another thing. When he was like, oh, has someone died between like November, December? And then if the people would go, no. You'd go, yeah, well, you have to look back. You have to look back on your family tree. You have to look back on your family tree.
Like, you have to look back. And then you're like, okay.
He was never like, that's strange. You know what I mean? Like he always maintained the fact that he was 100% right.
He was very defensive.
Yeah.
Which I'm thinking with a gift like that, unless you're like really, really good, I feel like it's hard to be 100% right. Because you could have spirits that are coming to you that...
Just lying for attention or something. Yeah,
literally maybe something else. Or maybe are mistaken.
Or it's not for that person.
Exactly.
For someone who was anxious, things he said didn't reflect what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. But I'm not going to say I don't believe anything he said was true. There were specific things that he said to people again, they might have been there a while, heard some things or something, but they were very specific for each person.
Yeah. Like, I think my favorite, obviously, we'll get to yours. Yours was one of my favorites.
I got singled out for a while.
He did get singled out for the longest one, I think. But one of my other favorites that he did was this woman who was, I'm not going to lie, I didn't notice her. Like,
which one? Because there was two that was very...
said that she had the dark cloud around her.
Oh, okay, yeah, the one towards the end.
That one, I think, was the best one that he did, because he kind of like looked past her, and then he came back to her and he was like, I've been sort of trying to not come to you because of, I can just feel something really, really heavy that is going on with you. And all I can see around you is this really big dark cloud. And what you're going through is really, really difficult. And he just kind of started talking to her. He never went into like, this is what you're going through, blah, blah, blah. He didn't specifically say what it was, but from her reaction, it was a lot, because she kind of like,
she broke down a little bit.
As soon as he said the dark cloud around you and like, I just want you to know that you will be fine, she completely just broke down. And it was like an energy shift that just kind of happened when he was talking to her. And I think this was the only person that he actually made proper eye contact with the entire time, and like was proper just like going in on like, and wasn't like, you know what I mean? It felt more like genuine help, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Someone who was on the brink and he just kind of was like, I have to come to you and say this. And I think that one, I liked it. It wasn't any of the pageantry. It wasn't any of the nonsense. Like, he did veer off towards the end, but then I was kind of like that. I felt like because he probably thought he needed to, because he starts like, oh, and then I can see this. And I was like, that's not really necessary, because, you know, she's kind of, you can see it on her that this was something that she needed and she really, really wanted. And like, now I feel like you're just adding it on for the sake of everyone else.
Yeah. I couldn't really see her where I was, but I could see the energy around her. Essentially.
Yeah.
Like, you could see something was weighing on her just by looking at her. But he had certain specifics about who it was, because it wasn't even anyone like a family member or something.
Whatever,
It was a friend. Yeah. Which, to be able to guess, and that would be your guess.
He like heavily implied she was depressed.
Yeah, and it was not a family member, it was a friend.
Yeah.
But like, your immediate like thought would be family.
Absolutely. Family, partners, do you know what I mean? Like, children, that, because like, that's how, especially with people like, again, around that age, that's your first go-to, is to be like, oh, family.
Your partner, most probably. Statistically,
because most of the people in there, it was partner. Do you know what I mean? When he would go to them, it was partner, it was sister, it was mother, it was father. It was like, do you know what I mean? Those types of people. I think that was a very not nice moment, because it was very heavy, but everyone in the room, I think, felt something in that moment. It was very like...
Well, we have different opinions on the other person. Do you know the person that was sitting like behind me?
Mm-hmm. The woman.
Yeah. The other woman. I feel like at times he was grasping at straws, but you said you thought her read was very good.
I think because of how specific he was. At times he was, but I think he was picking up stuff, because he said it was her sister, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be her sister. Because he started off by being like, the person I'm speaking to, they're quite butch, they're butchy.
That's not how he started it off.
Well, kind
of.
At
one point he did say that.
When he brought up the sister, he was like, I'm seeing someone who's like, everyone, butch. And she was like, no. And he was like, is your sister butch? And she's like, no, that would be me. And then suddenly he was like, yeah, no, I can see her like shaking her head now. She would hate.
Yeah. That part was a bit weird. Yeah. I think it wasn't her sister, because she had two people that recently passed away. It was her sister and then her friend.
Yeah, but it was the sister that was like, because the friend, he said, was flashing her.
Oh yeah, the friend one I thought was good, because he said a lot of stuff that applied to stuff that they had done together. But like picking up on like how her and her friend were quite wild together and they had all of these experiences and like she would get very dressed up. I think he even said like a specific outfit or something and she was like, yeah, you know, that I thought that was good. The sister was a bit weird. I feel like that one was a bit like...
See, but even with the friend, it felt like he said some things sometimes and it was completely wrong. And he would just switch then. He'd be like, oh, then it must be this. So he would switch it. And then he would say all these things. And then suddenly that was correct. Like, obviously he could be picking up on a different spirit, something different.
Yeah.
But to me, with some of those moments, especially with the sister part, he was saying things and it was applying to the woman herself.
Yeah, the woman and not the sister.
And not the sister.
The sister one, yeah, it felt very weird. Either if he did see something, he did, and then it was just a weak connection and he just kind of thought, let me fill in the gaps. And then, but yeah, it was a bit like, And then when he got to the friend, he was in a bit more of like a flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then has he like cold read her already, got the reading, and then applied it to someone else that he thought... Do you know what I mean? It's hard to judge.
It is hard to judge. It is hard to judge.
Because I think I was going in with the conception that this guy could be a mentalist, right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to look for these things because I was doing specific things, not on purpose. I am generally just an anxious person. So I have like one of those like anxiety rings and I was spinning it at the time. And like throughout when we were singing, he would glance over towards us and I'm pretty sure he saw me doing it.
Yeah. Should we talk about what happened with you?
Yeah,
This is a natural segue, isn't it?
I got singled out.
You
Crazy.
got pointed at.
He was like, I'm going to have to come to you.
What's your name?
So I had to I told him my name. I told him my
So
name.
I had to do it.
I wish I pulled out like a different name. Like my name's Jedediah.
Michael? Jedediah. Yeah.
The first couple of things he said to me were not correct.
No, they were not correct to you.
You could say...
Although...
You could say it applies.
It does apply because you have the... Okay, tell us what the first thing he said to you was.
So he basically singled me out and was like, I see a bass, I see a guitar. I did used to play bass like ages ago, but I hadn't played in ages and I'd never really thought about it since.
Yeah.
And he said I was a lover of music, which I wouldn't say I love music more than anyone else. Like, if anything, that applies more to my brother, my brother is a guitarist. He plays guitar, bass, mandolin. He plays all these instruments. And I would say it applies more to him. He loves music. I'm more cinema. I'm more film. But he never mentioned anything to do with film or cinema.
No. But what did he mention? He mentioned your anxiety.
But again, that's why I mentioned why I have like an anxiety ring. And he probably just glanced over and saw that I was a bit nervous. He said, I hadn't been feeling myself lately.
Which is true.
It is true. But also, why would you come to these things if you hadn't?
I went and I've been feeling myself.
Yeah, I know. But, I'm just trying to explain it. Maybe,
Yeah. But the thing is, though, like with you, because obviously I was like right next to you listening.
Yeah.
He said you hadn't been feeling yourself, but he also said he gave it a specific time span, which...
For the last couple of months,
but he said like 5 months, which when you think about the timeline of like things that have been going on with our lives is so accurate to what had happened at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was just kind of like, yeah, like he's kind of right about the timeline.
He was correct about the timeline.
He was.
Yes.
I feel like you kind of went in like ready to fight.
I was because... I don't know. I'm very much on the fact that like there could only be a handful of these people. I just went in thinking...
You wanted him to be wrong.
I did want him to be wrong. Yes, I did.
But then what else did he say to you?
All that. He jumped to my mum and was saying some things to her. And then basically how she needs to calm down. And he saw my grandma kicking her in the butt because she thinks she needs to stop anxious and other stuff like that.
She was stressed.
That's it, yeah.
We had been doing her blood pressure for a while and it had been coming up really high as well.
But that's natural for my mum. And then he jumped back to me And then suddenly he was like, oh, I don't see the guitars, I don't see the bass.
He never said that.
He didn't say that, but then suddenly he didn't see that things. And he was like, I see computers and books, which...
No.
Yeah.
The way you're saying it is so like, I'm going to take over now and start saying it, because you're making it out very, very like, he's wrong. He said, I see a computer, and around the computer are books. And he said, I don't know why, but I see like loads of books around the computer. And then he looked at you. And then you were like...
I was like, well, I want to be a writer, so it could be something to do with that.
Yeah. And then he said, oh, yeah, that's probably what it is then. And then he was like, you know what? Oh, I don't remember exactly, but he was like, you know what? I see things changing for you.
He said something like, I get a good feeling from you.
Yeah.
I can see...
He said a change.
A change. Things will start looking better for you around March time. March, April. March, April.
And then he also said that he saw success in something that was... He said something small. He said something maybe...
He said he saw like a script of like 50 pages. Well, he said... a book of around 50 pages.
Yeah, 50, 60 pages.
He said it wasn't an actual book. It was something adjacent.
Yeah, which we've been working on a collection of short stories.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, yes. See, you're but no, because if you say I want to be a writer, right? And then the most initial thing for someone to then do to ride on that bandwagon is not short stories, because short stories is such like a niche.
I think it is.
I don't know.
That's because in my head, right? It goes short stories, and then you'd go to a book. And then, based off of my age, I would have guessed short stories if it was me. That's what I would have guessed. I would have been like,
not have guessed that.
You're working on some short stories of adjacent.
That's not what I would have guessed. I would have guessed that you're working on a idea, like for a book, a full book. I would not say, and I would just say, keep working on that idea. I would not give any specifics on how long it would be if I wanted to keep that whole vibe. I would never give specifics like that.
I will say this though, as much as I've been like trying to disprove him, I wouldn't say I've been, obviously there's a tone.
You've been a bit
there's
hard
a tone.
on him. There is such a tone.
But when he was talking to me, when I was looking at him, I did feel like a sort of energy coming from him, sort of vibe. Like
everything he said to you was really lovely, because he even said he was like,
I did feel inspired. I did feel more energetic. But again, it could just be like a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing.
What's wrong with that then?
Nothing's wrong with that, but it doesn't make him clairvoyant. It makes him like, I'm going to prove him right because he said this is going to happen. So suddenly I'm working more towards it. Like, it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. But
You're such a pessimist.
I'm not a pessimist. I'm just trying to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I did say, I'm not sure whether or not I do believe he is a clairvoyant. I definitely don't believe he's not. But I definitely don't believe that he is.
Right. Okay.
I feel like if he was a bit more humble about like when things were wrong.
That threw me off a little bit.
Especially after he said he had anxiety.
Yeah.
That's what made me...
He ain't got no anxiety.
That's what made me be like, oh, because suddenly there was a shift in his attitude. That's what like threw me off.
Yeah.
If he was like more like on the fact of like on the things where he got wrong, where someone like, oh, instead of being like, you just have to look back, you could be like, it could be that you just don't know who it is at this moment in time, but it could reveal itself.
Yeah. He was very defensive.
He was very much on the fact everything he was saying was 100%.
Yeah.
And that I always feel like when it comes to clairvoyance, there's always room for interpretation. I feel like they can get stuff wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's the only reason I'm more skeptical.
That's fair.
That's it.
Yeah. But I think what I really liked what he said to you is that when he was like, you're going to do this thing, it's going to help improve your confidence for you to continue, which I was like, that's a great.
And to be fair, after he spoke to me and did all that stuff, I did feel more inspired. I did feel more, passionate
Yeah,
about
go
getting
out
better.
there.
Yeah.
We're all going to be on the lookout for your book.
Just we'll see, like March, April.
March,
We'll see what
April.
happens.
I
We'll see
know
what
we're going to
happens.
be, your book's going to be hitting the store, you know. But yeah, overall, I think what you said to your mom was really accurate as well. She
had been
said,
stressful.
yeah, she's been very stressed and, coming through. But, you can only take on what these people say if it helps. This is the thing that I always think. I'm like, from it, you're helping people, particularly the people in that room really needed help and they wanted help. Obviously, I would always encourage people to go speak to a professional in these situations, but professionals can be expensive.
Very expensive.
It can be so expensive. And when that happens and you don't have a support system, things like this that are like communities and groups help a lot.
Yeah.
And for some of those people, that could have been the very first time someone's even spoken to them about what's going on with them,
First time they left the house, possibly.
Yeah, exactly. So having that will definitely help improve their mental health and maybe even like make friends with some of the people that are in that room,
Because again, support system.
Absolutely. So whenever stuff like that happens, I'm always like, as much as like you may not believe in it, take from it what you want. As long as like nothing harmful is being said.
Yeah, because
okay.
to be fair, it wasn't too much money. It was like a couple of quid. You don't have to pay to go to that service.
You don't.
You just donate. And then I'm sure if you will be like, oh, I can't pay this time, they're not going to be like, get out.
Absolutely not. Like it's optional donation. That's the thing. So would I go again? Yes, I would.
I also would go again. Again, I'm just skeptical. I'm never like, this guy's a fraud. He's taking money. No, there's things he said that were very much true, and I very much felt an energy coming from him. It was just some of the things felt a bit pageantry, but again, that's nature of the business. So literally in The Mentalist, it was all about pageantry because that's another way to sell it to people. If you were just to be like, yeah, you did this and this, it's not the same as like, I can see this. He's giving me a beer. This, it's more.
Yeah.
Because he was very much with his hands. He was like giving the energy of like the hands and doing stuff like this and that. Definitely give him energy. I would very much go and see him again.
Yeah.
See what it's like.
Yeah. I would like to get a reading. I think now that I know what it's sort of like, because I was like, I don't really want to.
I felt the same way when you singled me out.
Yeah. But now that I know, I'd want to know what they have to say. But I feel like I would never get picked out. I would have to like pay someone to literally give me that reading.
See, but I also feel like I'm easy to read. You could read my emotions. You can see what's, like the marks.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm an easy mark. I feel like as much as I think wouldn't be hypnotized, I feel like I could be hypnotized.
So what you're saying is you're Steve.
Steve?
For Minecraft.
Can he be?
You're an NPC.
I'm not an NPC.
Oh, wait, no, I didn't mean to say NPC. An open book.
Yeah, I would say I'm an open book.
You're the type of people they scout for cults. They would snatch you up.
Well, I'd say possibly. I'm. If there's any cults out there, don't hit me up. I'm too suggestible.
Ew, why do you want to get taken by cults?
Again, that's another curious thing, Not all cults are bad. The bad cults are bad. The good cults are good. Hence why they're called good cults. Very bizarre. But I would say the guy was great. The guy was good.
Yeah.
If you're ever in Spain, the Costa Blanca area, check out the man. And I would recommend it. Go see for yourself.
It's an experience.
I mean, I'm a skeptic myself, so give it a try yourself. See what you think.
Yeah. Especially if you're like alone going through something and you want to be around people. That's quite nice. It's a nice experience.
But just to point out, there was a lot of old people out there. It was definitely 50 plus. So if you're younger than that, you may stick out a little bit. But
which, if you want a reading, maybe that would be a good thing. I don't know.
But yeah, thank you for listening to this, different episode, a little bit of a story time. We do hope to do more like these in the future on different things.
Yeah. Yeah, we've also heard of ones that do it online. So if that's something that you'd be interested in us doing, we can definitely arrange that.
Yeah, there's like tarot card readings that we wanted to do, There's a lot of different random stuff out there that, we'll give it a try.
We'll give it a try. See what's going on, and give you our opinions and our experiences.
Yeah, because it's, as much as you can like sit here and say things about things that are happening outside the world, unless you really experience them, where are you going to be? I mean, I've experienced it, but I'm still like, I don't know.
But hey, it was a good experience.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
There you go. That's all we need. Be sure to check us out on social media. We are at Sticious Podcast or at Sticious_podcast on most things.
And we will see you next time.